Do you know what's wrong with these phrases and sentences? Today we're going to talk about common mistakes in verb combinations. Are you ready to learn with me? Alright, just so you know, this is the third time that I am filming the same lesson. I don't know, maybe it's a bad day for me to film this, but I don't have any other choice because tomorrow's Monday and I have to start working again for the week. Anyway, that's fine as long as I can post this video today, and I really hope I will be able to. By the way, I'd like to greet all of the Filipino learners out there. Merry Christmas. For some, for the foreigners, it sounds ridiculous to greet someone Merry Christmas as early as September, but not for the Filipinos. And before we start our lesson, I want you to pause this video first if you don't have a pen, pencil, or paper with you, because you have to write something, right? Right there, anything that you can get, that you can learn from this lesson, so that next time that you'll construct sentences in English, either in speaking or in writing, you won't commit these mistakes. We have 10 sentences in the list and we'll go through each of them. First is will going to. The use of will going to, like I'll going to work tomorrow. What's wrong with will going to? Well, we have there will, then we have going to. If we have will in the sentence, the other verb should be in its base form. And by the way, I always use grammatical terms like this. If you've been watching my videos since the beginning, you probably know already what do I mean when I say base form of the verb, the be verbs. And you might be thinking, Miss, the verb work is actually in its base form because it has nothing with it. Yes, that is in its base form, but our target in this sentence is going. So what should we do with this sentence? You can do two things. It's either you can say I am going to work, or I am going to work tomorrow, or I will work tomorrow. But do not ever use will with a verb in ing. Do not ever say will going to. The second one is very related to the previous one. I going to work. I going to work. The rule here is that you don't use the action verb with an ing or in ing form without be verb before it. Okay? You always need a be verb before a verb or an action verb with an ing. So you have there going, obviously it has ing. So you need be verb before that. In that sentence, you have the subject I. So the be verb that you have to use is, it's am. Be verbs are am, is, are, was, and verb. In this sentence, you have I, so that is I am going to work. Number 3, and for this one, I'm going to give 2 examples. First, they came from the United States. They came from the United States. Second, yesterday, we came to work early. Again, yesterday, we came to work early. What's wrong with these 2 sentences? Let's talk about the verbs. So we have were and then we have came. Were is the past tense of the verb are, so that's in past tense. Came is also past tense, that's the past tense of the verb come. The major rule in sentences which have more than one verb is that they don't go with the same form. Like this one, both of them are in the past tense. Alright, so what should we do here? Were here is not needed. It's not necessary. So let's just delete that. Let's take that away. Let's just have sentences like they came from the United States and yesterday we came to work early. Number 4, did you finish your homework? Again, did you finish your homework? In this sentence, we have 2 verbs again, did and finished. One, did, is the past tense of the verb do. Alright, it's a form of do. And the other one is finished, which is also in past tense. If you have 2 verbs in one sentence, they don't go with the same form. Alright, if one is in past tense, the other one should be in its base form. And in this sentence, we have 2 verbs both in the past tense. did, and finished. What should we do? Well, if you're saying that we have to write the sentence like this, did you finish, without ed after finish, your homework, then you're correct because that should be the sentence. Did you finish your homework? This is usually confusing for learners because they're always concerned with the forms of the verbs, and they always think that action verbs should always be in their right form. For example, if they're saying something or actions in the past, and even though they have the other verb in the sentence, they should still write those action verbs in past tense form. But no, we don't construct sentences like that. Alright? Here's the general rule. If you have a helping verb in your sentence, or some teachers call them auxiliary verbs, if you have them in your sentence, then the other verb should be in its original form. Number 5, tell me what's wrong with this sentence. I am always submit my work on time. Again, I am always submit my work on time. So we have am, we have submit. Ignore always because that's an adverb. That's an adverb of frequency. It tells how often an action is done. Just focus on am and submit. The question in this sentence would be, what is the tense of the verb? What should be the tense of the verb? Because we have there am, and if we're going to follow that, if we're going to follow the rule, we have be verb, so we need to have ing after our main verb. I am always submitting my work on time. It won't be correct because we have there the word always. Alright? And most of the time, if you have there always, then the tense of your verb should be in its simple present or present simple tense. The sentence should be, I always submit my work on time. You don't need am in that sentence. Number 6, she can explain the lesson well. Again, she can explain the lesson well. If you're thinking that the sentence should be, she can explain the lesson well without an s after explain, then you're correct because we have can, which functions as the helping verb in that sentence, so automatically we have to remove the s after the word explain. If you don't have can in that sentence, then that's the time that you have to add an s after explain because that verb should agree with the subject, right? She is singular, so you have to add an s after explain. The sentence would be, she explains the lesson well. Number 7, she will never know the truth. Again, she will never know the truth. Now, how should you correct this sentence? And what is wrong with this? We have will and we have known. Well, this is another issue of what I've said earlier. If you have will, then that verb known should be in its base form. The base form of the verb known is just know. Alright? Ignore never because that's another adverb in that sentence. The sentence would be, she will never know the truth. She will never know the truth. It's not she will never know the truth because we have will. Well, we're moving fast. Let's have number 8 right away. Who is not belong in the class? Again, who is not belong in the class? Well, let's say it's the first day of school and there's just that one student who accidentally entered the Zoom meeting. So your teacher might be confused. You might want to ask, who is that person who accidentally entered the Zoom meeting with your teacher? This is the question. Now, what is wrong with this? I often hear this from students. Who is not belong in the class? Well, this is partly correct because is for singular and we're actually looking for one. Yes, we have to use singular form of the verb, but oftentimes students or English learners are confused whether they're going to use form of do. When I say form of do, I mean to say the do, does, and did, or if they're going to use be verbs, is, was, are, and were. Notice that we have in this question be verb, which is, who is not belonging to class, which is supposed to be does. That should be who does not belong in the class. Because if we're going to make that a sentence, it should be someone does not belong in the class. Someone does not belong in the class. Let's say she does not belong in the class, or Larry does not belong in the class, like that. Number 9. Do you familiar with the most visited tourist spot in the Philippines? Again, do you familiar with the most visited tourist spot in the Philippines? Let me answer that question. Yes, I am familiar with the most visited tourist spot in the Philippines. I used am there. I am familiar with, right? Obviously, in our question, we have to use form of be. But that is the question, so you won't ask, am you familiar with? That should be are. Are you familiar with the most visited tourist spot in the Philippines? So you see, we use the same form of the verb in question and in sentence form. Number 10, and I'm hoping that you're still with me. She might thought it's better to buy grapes than pears. Again, she might thought it's better to buy grapes than pears. If you're thinking that the sentence should be, she might think it's better to buy grapes than pears, then you're absolutely correct, because yes, this is how we should write or say that sentence, okay? Might is another modal verb, and modal verbs are used as helping verbs, and helping verbs are used with verbs in their original or base form. The base form of the verb thought is think, so it should be she might think. And that's the end of it. I hope you learned something from me today. If you found this video helpful, informative, share this with other learners. I really appreciate that. The channel is continuously growing thanks to all of you. I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope that you stay motivated, you stay dedicated to learn English. Don't forget also to dream and make your dream happen. I'll see you on my next video. Bye!